All right. Somebody want to kick us off?
Good
Alejandro.
afternoon. I'm Nico
Alejandro.
Colon.
Rise,
I'm
they have
from Rise.
one
I've
exclamation
been with
Hang on,
Rise
there's two
for
people
5
talking. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Can you
Go
hear
ahead.
me?
I can now.
My name is Nico Colon. I am with Rise, the case manager for Rise. I've been in Rise for almost 5 years. And maybe a month later that I started, they introduced me to, I believe, they started me in EmpowOR.
I am so sorry. Could you say the last question just a little louder?
I started using EmpowOR maybe a month later after I started, but
Okay.
I started working completely like maybe 2 years and a half.
So significant experience. Thank you.
Problem.
Next.
Hello, my name is Johan Moreno. I have no experience in EmpowOR. I'm learning for case manager for Rise.
Okay. Awesome. Next, please.
I'm Alejandra Vera. I'm a case manager for Rise. I have been working with EmpowOR about less than a year. No,
Okay.
more than a year, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Learning every day about this.
Awesome.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Aguila Concepcion. I work at Rise for 3 months, and I've been seeing EmpowOR with your trainings classes. So I'm new to the program.
Okay.
I am Angelina Vargas. I work for Arm & Arm, and I've been working on EmpowOR now, I want to say 3 years.
Makes sense. I work because we've met before.
I am Cecilia Avila. I'm with Arm & Arm. I wanted to say 3 years, but the experience maybe 30%. Angie's the master.
Wonderful.
Hello, my name is Tiffany Burton. I'm a case manager at John Wilson Center, and I started about a month ago, so I'm still in the process of learning how to use EmpowOR.
Okay. Awesome.
Hello, my name is Maitiel Jimenez. I'm a senior case manager for Rise, and I think
Hi,
I'm using EmpowOR since first day.
Yeah, agreed. And I hope you're well. We've certainly spoken and worked together before.
My name is Brian, the director of this location, the Lawrence Community Center. We do have 2 staff members that were unfortunately not able to be here today, Ms. Jackie and Deborah, who are much more advanced in EmpowOR than I am, but I have been on it. My role, I have to go on often and know how to do some of the stuff, but not all. Probably like 2 or 3 years experience.
All right. Sounds good. Anyone else, or did that capture us? I was not keeping count.
That's all of us. And then the county.
Okay.
Oh, you know myself. Oh, Scott.
Oh, sure. Scott, Lil, we've met a couple of times.
We have.
Absolutely. And I'm the EmpowOR dummy. So it's great. It's great having Steve.
I know what's going through your mind right now, Steve. Just don't even say it. All right, everybody. Well, I'm Lil Dupree. As you can see, I'm apparently on your big screen, so I hope I don't have anything stuck in my teeth. Although now our pictures are smaller because I'm sharing screen, of course. I am obviously now the customer experience director for, makes me sound a little bit like a cruise ship person, right? The customer experience director for EmpowOR, meaning from people who are first coming on through launch and training, technical assistance, and I oversee support functions as well for EmpowOR. So I've been with EmpowOR for 2 years only, coming up the end of this month, but I have worked in a nonprofit, specifically in CAP agencies, for over 18 years, and before I came to EmpowOR. So I actually bought it and used the software in 2 different CAP agencies, one of which I was the executive director, the other I was a VP of development. And so I used it as an end user before I came to work for EmpowOR. So obviously I liked the system well enough that I came on board when they first put in a launch and training manager role. and we've been growing ever since. So very, very pleased to be here with you today and answer questions. So we have a wide range of experience in the room. So I want to show a couple of things about the system as we kick off, and then decide amongst yourselves who's going to lead off with questions, or we can frame it that I can show different parts of EmpowOR so the newer folks can kind of see, and then any questions about that functionality can be asked. What I don't want to do is miss any of your questions. So Steve, is one of those a better way to proceed? Functional areas and questions as a show, or just take questions after some basic orientation? What do you all think?
After you do some basic intro and roles, then we can start asking questions.
Awesome. All right. So when you first log into EmpowOR, and experienced users, especially those who were here from last October when we introduced these widgets to you in EmpowOR 2.0, beginning of October of 21, this is your, unless you have set something differently, this is your landing page. New users, you might see a message here that says you have not set up any widgets yet. If you do, you just click on Manage Widgets and you pick. We're going to come back to this at the very end of today because you'll have, especially newer users, you'll have more of an understanding of what this is showing. Excuse me, hiccups. Is what this is showing you, but it is only your dashboard, right? So your landing page is here. I want to focus your attention here on the top right corner for now. Several important things. Obviously, in the Mercer County portal, your login name should be here. You can upload a picture or an avatar if you wish. Okay. You can change your password here in My Info if you need to. And change your picture. Okay. This is your favorites button, just like the one up here. Well, not quite just, but very similar to the one up here in Chrome.
Lil,
Right.
your box is in the way. All we see is your face.
I'm screen sharing, so wow, that is not helpful. Technological help on that end, please. Not that I don't want you to see, but I didn't put any makeup on, so I'm really sorry.
I
How
don't
do
know,
we?
maybe bring your screen in a little.
Well, no, it's because it's not that. I'm sharing the whole screen. And so you should no longer be seeing my face. You should be seeing, this should all be EmpowOR. Is that not the case there?
No, not here. We see your little boxes over top of what you're trying to show us right now.
Top right corner of your EmpowOR, we see you.
Maybe if you.
That's yours. That's your boxes. You guys need to move them.
Oh.
Somebody there who's controlling the presentation screen needs to move those boxes off.
Let's see.
Oh, there you go.
This first line.
See, now you helping us out.
That is actually what I exist to do.
And you move the little line. So it's only gonna be the line on.
There you go. You can make them off or you can turn them off. It doesn't matter. All right. So now that you can see what I'm showing you, so you see your login name. This is the icon I clicked to bring me to my information where I can upload a picture of myself or an avatar, change a password, right? This star that I was referring to is your favorites button. So you can add something to your favorites and you can manage your favorites, okay? It works just like a bookmark in your browser. So let's say what I mostly do is I go straight to, let me think, what's the first thing? Maybe I add group services or something, or client inquiries. I'm trying to think what functionality you guys most use. Essentially, I'm going to make the dashboard a favorite just so you can see it. So you navigate to use your favorites, you get to wherever it is that you go to the most, if you want it to be your landing page, or even a favorite. You click your favorites and add. At that point, you get a pop-up. And for new folks on EmpowOR, the experienced users will tell you if your pop-ups aren't enabled, EmpowOR does not work. Too many things in EmpowOR are actually done in pop-ups, in download buttons, or it will actually open a new browser window for you, depending on what functionality you are using. Okay, so I have chosen to do favorites. It's a pop-up. I can name it what I want to, just as you can name, as you see here, my Chrome links, right? I want to show it in the icon bar. Whether or not I want to show it in the favorites menu is a choice. If you show it in the icon bar, let's make it hot pink. I'm feeling hot pink today. If I check the box that says is landing page, it will make whatever I am setting up here my landing page. If not, what it will simply do, you see how home dashboard just appeared? And now, even though that is in fact my landing page already, I can get to it at any time. That was just an example to show you how to put something, and you can create your own favorites bar for EmpowOR. Turns out not everybody realized that was the case. We've been realizing more lately that we need to demonstrate that for people. Okay, so whatever pages in EmpowOR you use the most, you can essentially bookmark. Okay. Again, this takes you to your home dashboard. And if you don't already know this, this is probably the most important button I will show you today. Up in the corner is Professor Auric with a question mark. He is our help otter. Okay. He opens a new tab for you, a fully functional EmpowOR window, but he's opening it for you on the help page. Okay, he's opening it to the help page. Here in this, I'm going to just run through the screen with you really briefly. So you can register for webinars here. If I had any here for you to register for, this would be a better demonstration, but I have not gotten June and July up. So I have administrator webinars. So Steve, Scott, folks who are actually serving as EmpowOR administrators. And I have a set of webinars. The fourth Thursday of the month is a topical webinar. The third Thursday of the month is EmpowOR Hour for administrators, where there is no set agenda. Think of it as a combination of office hours and a relatively low rent comedy club, right? It is an active training online with me or with Gino that you tell us what you want to see and we show you. You tell us a problem, we help you fix it. If we can't fix it, we find someone who can, right? We play Stump Lil every week on those. So one Thursday a month, it's EmpowOR Hour for admin focused questions. And once a month, it is the, I think, second Thursday, it is EmpowOR Hour for end user focused questions. So bring any question you have. That webinar, as you can see, does not have one right now, but it is typically the second Thursday of each month, which means it will be tomorrow, and I will have it up here later. You could click on tomorrow and it'll be a little blue button and you can register. Okay, so that's the case for all webinars. 2 topical a month, 2 EmpowOR Hours a month, typically the first and through the fourth Thursdays, but June's working a little differently. So it's going to be the second through the fifth Thursdays. Release notes. I cannot overemphasize how important it is for somebody, administrators, this is your job, but somebody at each agency there should keep an eye on the release notes. Just before our next planned release, the release notes are updated with everything that is going to be pushed to the live portals on that date. So the release notes open again in a pop-up for you, and you can actually see things that happened. Sometimes these things will not affect you or your users. Sometimes they will. Sometimes they're new, and if so, they're highlighted as such. Sometimes they're a fix. Right? So all the different pieces, if you're doing expenditures and funding, and none of you are, but if you are using this, there's a change here, and it would be important for users to know about it if they were doing that, right? So it's important to at least scan the release notes. Everybody can get to them. I encourage everyone to look at them. You can see that 3 other people, unknown users, are in here. Could be people there. Could not be. It looks like you're in a computer lab. Do each of you have access to the internet there? No, not all of you. You do?
Yes.
Awesome. If you
We're
were
all playing while you're doing it.
awesome, that is the very best way to do training. So I'm thrilled. All right. So you see your release notes, check them out. There, when you're on the home page with each release, we're looking how to make it even bigger. New release is coming soon. Please check release notes. The message appears. The release notes are here. The date is here, right? We try everything we can to give you fair warning for what's going to change. Also on this page, some of you may already know this, new users. This is specific for you. I want to show you how to get to something if you haven't already seen it. So we are going to streamline this, get these alphabetized, and get a search keyword search button put in here. But for now, you can search by topic or by the intended audience or both, or you can just browse through 90 resources. This is for all EmpowOR users across the country. So from our California cap to our main caps to you guys, all of them. It's for everybody. There's a combination of documents. Some of them are quick tips and some are processes. Quick tip meaning a 1 or 2 page document, just a quick thing on, again, it pops it open and you can actually just scroll through the document. One of the things I like best about the 2.0 design is what you were doing when you decided to ask the system for help and it took you to the help page. It's still here. It's still in a live window, right? You're not going to lose your place while you ask for help from the system. You go here, you can search, you can click on things and they will open and you can actually just scan it here. So this is a diagram of how to move somebody or children in and out of households. Just a quick reference tip. So you can search. What I want to show you is, and I think I'm going to try to get to it a different way, is in addition to documents, right? There's a whole thing of icons and definitions, a document just telling you what all the icons are and what words mean in EmpowOR, right? How to merge participants to get rid of duplicates, right? Data entry. It's sorting them right now by, these are documents. But as I go to the end, you'll see that I'm now in the videos. So the icon tells you what it is, right? If this is a straight video, as these are recorded without without an audience. They're just Megan or Linda or me. Soon we're going to be re-recording a bunch, right? So you can find, depending on your learning style, some people like documents better, some people like videos better, right? In here, if we go to data entry and that audience, again, you need not search. You can see that we think there are 4 pages of resources that are specifically, there's a recording of an end user focused EmpowOR hour, right? There is different ones, right, that you can see. This is the one I want to show you, administrators at the county. There's a similar playlist for you. Stephen, I know I've shown it to you, Scott. I'm not sure if I've shown it to you. You can click on this data entry list. It takes you to our unlisted YouTube site, so you can't search YouTube for it. Once you're here, you can bookmark it. You just need the link. This is a series of 20 videos ranging from a couple of minutes to about 25 or maybe 30 minutes, 25 minutes, I think is the longest one here. Okay. The administrator ones are somewhat longer, but these are so that you don't have to watch an hour webinar to see if we cover something. You can be like, oh, I just want a refresher on how to do this. I don't remember how to do the income form properly. Or I have a question, right? You can take a look at these if video learning is your style. There are a lot of resources here. There are a lot of documents and we continue adding to them. Now that's the first help list. There is a second help list. This is custom documentation for you, meaning for everybody who works with Mercer County. So right now, what it has in it is 3 statewide webinars that we recorded and then I dropped into every New Jersey agency's portal of how to do the CAP plan to reporting, module 2, and then actually how to do the CAP plan in detail. Tomorrow, this video will be here. Mercer County TA session with a date, and it will be right here. And if you feel so moved, you can grab it, show people, watch it, all the things. Okay, so your specific documentation is here. Last, but definitely not least, support requests. If you really can't find information on how to do something and you've done a good faith search, or if something's broken, if you get an error message, if you find a bug, right, we want you to tell us. And we would like you to tell us as soon as you find it if it's a bug. So here's what we ask folks to do if they can. First of all, try whatever you were trying again, one time. Right, if you got the little otter on his back saying, uh-oh, right? Ideally, take a screenshot and include the web link that the error message gives you. Pick your topic. describe what you were doing or trying to do, if it's a bug. And please, it's not working, doesn't help us replicate the problem so we can fix it for you. When I go to run a quick report on a case note, it errors. And if you have bonus points for if you get a screenshot or the web address, but even if you just tell us it's a data entry problem, here's what happened, as specific as you can be, and submit. That creates a task in our task management system that our support gurus, Gino and Scott, different Scott, but also a guru, right? So Gino and Scott will pick up those and work with you. Some of you I know have had support requests that we've handled for you, right? And that we move through. If it turns out it's a bug that it's not a training issue or something, we groom it up and we pass it to development who get it fixed. On the timeline depends on the urgency and how widespread the problem is. And then we prioritize, of course. So you can send support requests right through the system. Okay. And again, if it's a bug, don't wait. Please just try one more time to do it. If it gives you an error again, send it through. Don't be frustrated, make yourself crazy trying to do it. Let us get started on figuring out what's happening. That's why we're here. Okay. Any questions about the help page? All right. Moving back. Oh, that's cool. Now I can see the screen on yours. Okay. I like how the view keeps changing. That is so cool. All right. So up here, we've gone through the top bar icons. This is where most people start their day in EmpowOR, because generally speaking, as an end user, the first thing you want to do is find a client in the system, right? It's like, I'm looking for the test household. Right, there's a whole bunch of them. Here's my Mickey Mouse test. Okay. So searching. For you all, it's just people. Just so that you know, though, businesses and communities can also be clients in EmpowOR. They can be treated as a client. A lot of people do, a lot of agencies do small business work. Some actually do redevelopment work, and they're working with a block or a street or a whole town. And that can be in EmpowOR. If you click the exact button, be very sure of what you're typing, because you know typos happen, right? Whether it was on the original entry or on our typing screen. What I usually do, if I want to find mini test and I know that's who I'm looking for, I'll type the first few letters of the first and last name. And if there's only, that was interesting, MINTES. It says it's inactive. So how did I find that person before? This is a little detective work, right? I looked for this tests. There she is. Well, I don't know why she didn't show up in the first test. We will figure that out as we go along. You can also, oh, because I had exact checked, for heaven's sakes.
We knew you knew that.
Yeah, right, of course. I wanted to see if anyone actually noticed and called me out on it. That was on purpose. Yeah, that was a user error, right? They happen to all of us. Gino and I often lead off trainings with like, okay, I just did this in the previous training, so don't check the exact box unless you really, really mean it, right? So you can search by last name, by first and last name. If you just enter one set of letters here, EmpowOR will assume that you want the last name. If you enter two, it's searching first and last name. It is also searching AKAs. More on that in a minute. Advanced search, however, is what a lot of users prefer because maybe it's not just the name. Maybe I'm looking them up by their date of birth, or maybe their email address, or their ID, if I happen to be that, or a phone number. Or maybe I want a little bit different search. Maybe I want to know, I want to see a list of everybody who is assigned to Gino test, okay, to Gino, our support person, which means test people pretty much, right? So if I do that and then click search, what it's going to give me is a list of all the people who are currently assigned to Gino, even though all I did was a search, right? It's not a report. This is just search results that I can click on anything. So in those advanced search options, you can be looking for a single person, absolutely. But you can be looking for all the people who have a current enrollment in a given program, right? Or who's assigned. So it's useful for more than just looking up an individual to work with them, okay? So lots of options there for how to find people. The green button here is the first icon that most people see and get used to when they're a new user. The green plus sign means add a new something, add a new whatever it's beside. In this case, that means add a new person. Okay. Now, I want everybody to raise your right hand. Do the Boy Scout or Girl Scout salute. I will not abuse the power that Lil is about to show me, I promise. Okay, good enough. Good enough. Do not abuse the raw power. I do not want you to create new people until you have done a good faith search for the person. So let's say you have a new client coming in who says they've never been there before, right? Two things. One, especially, and like I said, I've worked in the anti-poverty field for a long time, including in direct services. A lot of times people in need don't necessarily remember where they got help before. It's part of dealing with a crisis, right? I'm just looking for help. I've applied for help at 6 places and I'm seeing a couple of nods, right? This happens. So do a decent search. If mini test comes in for services, before you just create mini test, and I'm going to show you what happens in just a moment with that. And then we're going to go to questions here in just a few minutes. Do a good faith search. Don't type mini test exact. Maybe when they got entered, they entered Minerva test, and now she's entering mini test, right? If you search Minerva test and there isn't anybody, and you go to create mini test, you could end up creating a duplicate, right? So I usually do something like that. It's a very complicated name or very tough spelling that could lead to typos, right? I check fewer letters and I really do a decent search. It takes a couple of minutes and it saves ever creating a duplicate. So you look and see and you're like, okay, mini test. Nope, not there. In this case, I am actually going to duplicate this one on purpose for you. Okay, so you just say, okay, nope, there's nobody in the system named MITES. Good to go. I'm going to now create a new person. Okay, so very briefly, let me get her date of birth again, 5/11/85. Okay, I'm going to use my power button to just create a new person right here. I'm going to call it mini test, and it was 5/11/1985, right? Helps if you don't make typos in the social when you mean the date of birth. Okay. I can add other household members right here to the screen. And if there were kids or whatever, I would, but for the sake of expediency today, I'm just going to hit finish and next. Watch what it does. It immediately says, Rutro, Raggy, whoever it is in Scooby-Doo. I think we got a dupe here. We've got a mini test with the date of birth. Is that the same person? Yes, it is. So let's take the person I'm trying to create. I'm going to go, yep, that's her. Which household, because she's in 2 due to having people in both households, which one do I want to put her in? Select it. And so what some people will sometimes ask is, but if I do that, it's going to tell me if it's a duplicate, right? Yes. If you type the name exactly the same way that it's in the system, and it's the same date of birth, and nobody made a typo back then or now, it's easy to miss something. So just do a good faith search before you create somebody. All right. In the details, 2 more things before we move on to questions. Remember the red flag when you see it. You can either click on the flag, its participant basic information is missing. You can click on the person, the flag, or participant details to get to the problem, which is going to say, let's see, we've got race, we've got ethnicity. We don't have disability. We don't have insurance. We don't have a language, right? We don't have veteran status. We don't have education. We do have a phone number, which it does not include the red flag for, but you want to make sure you've got a way to reach clients. And if you've got emails in the system, set this one up so I can use it for training today. There are things you can send through email that I really, really, really want you to know about, okay? So I'm going to save it. I'm going to close out of this screen. It's been saved. It's going to take me back here. Notice that the red flag beside Minnie is gone because I updated all the missing information. So whenever you're working with a client, if you come in and you pull them up and you're like, oh, we're missing something for Pluto, right? It's a great time to be filling in demographics. Quick thing here, you'll notice that Pluto has the child icon. The system is calculating age and saying this is a kid, so therefore we don't have marital status, veteran status, and employment status. They're children. If they're babies, it's just less than 9 years. Even if they're 3 days old, it's the education is still less than 9 years. Okay, so red flags are bad, and you want to actually eliminate them whenever you're working with a client. It's your visual check, thus visual flag, for something's missing. Okay. Housing status, don't forget this person doesn't have an address. That's not good. You don't know if they're really up there in Mercer County or if they're in fact hanging out somewhere else in the state and they got to a website and clicked on a link and somehow, you know, found you and whatever. So address is important. Happens surprisingly often, right? Yep, people find you're in the wrong place. It's like, well, here, let me give you the right place to go, but it's not even in my system because I can't even refer you there because we don't have an email, but this is who you need to talk to. Go call them, right? Go call Prab, go call whoever it is, and deal with that, okay? So that is the basics of the screen. And now I heard a hey, Lil, bring on the questions.
I have a question. So my EmpowOR does not have the column of flags. It just starts out with me.
I'm sorry, it didn't have the column of what, the flags?
Yeah. I'm not sure if I.
Really? What person are you in?
Maria Ruiz. That's just on my phone.
No, I'm just gonna take a look and see what I see. Does everybody else who's in a client see a flag?
Well, that means we did all of our due diligence, right?
But the flags the column should still be there though.
Oh.
Even
No.
if it doesn't have any flags in it. And let me ask, is that the question? You have the column, just no flags?
I don't have the columns at all.
No, just the names. Yeah, I don't have it.
All right, I'm gonna go behind the administrator curtain for just a moment here. And I'm going to see if that functionality. Ha, that's why. Refresh your screens now, please.
I see them.
Okay, that was a permissions issue and it wasn't turned on. So that was an administrative function. I made it visible to staff users and now you can see them, click on them and get additional data in for them. Okay. And here's something, I'm really glad you said that because that is critically important, right? How do you know stuff's missing if we don't flag you, right? But there is another way, and this is the last thing that I was going to show you before I really took it to fully open, just bring on any questions at all, is you want to check your own data cleanliness, right? You want to be able to see across all the clients you've worked on, how good is the data? There is a special report in your reporting called the Data Quality Report. Please go to it. Everybody who's got access and is on their EmpowOR, please go to it. Okay. You can enter your program name, obviously going to be CARES or CSBG, correct?
Can you go back a step? Where you at? Oh, forget,
Sure.
forget, I got it.
You bet. Reporting, and then down to data quality report. Then you can pick your program. You can actually just pick staff assigned. So in my case, I'm going to pick EmpowOR Support Lil is my staff member because that's me. And I want to see everybody who is currently enrolled with me assigned to them. So I'm going to use the filters of enrollment date from and to, not the start dates, because I don't care when they started. I want to know if they're active now, right? So I'm going to say they started, Steve, I don't know when we started working together, but I'll date it back a year and we'll see, okay? And we will say, oh, how did it get to be June 8th? Can anybody riddle me that? All right, and I'm going to
put nothing in the enrollment start date? Okay, hold on.
no, and I'll say why again in just a second. Okay.
Oh,
No, you're fine. You're fine. If you actually know, oh look, no data in mine. Okay, so I'm going to pick because we were all EmpowOR Support Gino until recently when we broke us out. So we could actually see which one of us was doing things in any given portal and check in. It's like, why did you set it up that way? I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm going to do this again. Enrollment date, start date to and from and to is if you know when the person's enrollment started or people, right? You can search that. So I want to search once I've checked my whole client load, I can then just every month say, show me the people who started their enrollment in June, right? And just show me those because I cleaned up. In this case, I want to see everybody from the last year and a half who have Gino support assigned. And it is generating a report and it's going to come up right here on the screen for you. Okay. If you pick your name off of this list, and if you put in enrollment dates going as far back as you would like, so some of you that's, 5 years, some of you it's a couple of years, some of you it's like, well, I haven't done anybody except yet, so you can just start with today. Let's look at this data quality report for a minute. Let me bring my screen down a bit. Okay. This is really cool for several reasons. One, you can see where you've missed the boat, right? Managers, anybody, Steve, and if there's any questions, speak up and stop me as I'm going through this, okay? So I can see that Bugs Bunny, I got everything I needed for Bugs. I can see that Kiddo Bunny, though, Kiddo Bunny, I missed a bunch of stuff. And here is the absolute coolest thing for data cleanup. This tells me everybody I've worked on whose data is not clean, 2 pages in this case, okay? Whose data's got some holes. But if I go, again, remember the pop-up rule. If I say, okay, I want to work on Kiddo Bunny, and if I click on the live link for that household, it takes me right to the household. Ah, there is indeed a flag. I can go to Kiddo Bunny only by clicking on them. I can say, well, we'll make Kiddo Bunny female, and rabbits are a different race, and we'll make him a Latino rabbit who is not disabled, who has no health insurance, and who speaks rabbit, right? And this is a child, so we're going to put him in the 10th grade, and we don't need to worry about that stuff. Now, if I hit save and close, okay? Notice again, my report tab, we close out the extraneous ones. My report tab is still open, okay? I can now go down to this one and fix it. But the fun part and what I like to do is each time I fix one, I like to hit the refresh button right there, little green circles, because look at all that green for Kiddo Bunny, right? There's NAs. I don't know why one of them is red. There's NAs because this is a kid, right? Tell by the birth date, they're not going to have an employment or a veteran status, right? So it's always going to be NA. Like I said, I don't know why it's red versus the other. But so you can go into and fix them as a group. Everybody who's doing data entry and EmpowOR should run this report at the frequency you think. I encourage you, Steve and Scott, to be running it across agencies. 2 reasons. And managers, you can run for multiple staff, right? You can actually, you saw when I checked import Gino, I could have checked, I want to see all the EmpowOR support staff's work, right? And then it's updated, it's going to update the report if I say generate. Okay. So you can check your other staff. What I like to say is everybody, you're all responsible for your own data entry being complete, right? Obvious. But if you run it for multiple people or for an entire organization, right? An instance of it, if you're at the county, you can see if there are gaps. For instance, we identified one for another agency the other day by looking at data quality, and they had housing status. Almost nobody had green. Every staff member we had a ton of red X's there. Well, it turned out that when we were in the household, they were only entering for the address this side, and they didn't go over here and check the status. So it was a training issue, right? People weren't not knowing it. They just didn't know to go over there and click it. So we did a training issue, and hopefully it's better. But running group reports can tell you if there are in fact training issues, or because we're human, right? And we all make mistakes or don't get it, or we get distracted, or get a call from a client and we don't finish, right? Then there's going to be times where somebody came in for a service, you got most of the information, but not quite all. They didn't know the veteran status of the boyfriend's mom who just moved in. I don't know, something. And you didn't get it, and you're not going to get it. And it's just going to be a red X. That's okay. Sometimes it happens, right? This is the real world. We don't always get everything. And if someone doesn't come back, we don't have a way to get it. And there's no need to call them to get one demographic point, right? Obviously, we want it as complete as possible because our funder, in your case, not just Mercer County, but the federal funding that comes to you through Mercer County, through these 3 or 4 steps. If we don't have relatively complete demographic information, they get upset. So this is how you make sure that your own data entry is at least capturing basic demographics, you're getting the addresses, you're getting the type of family and the housing status, and education levels. Okay, and it's so cool because it lets you keep the report open, fix it in the other tab, go back to the report, do it again, right? Without having to go search clients one by one to see if there's missing data. Any questions about that? Process or EmpowOR, either one.
Lil, could you show us how to delete a household?
All right, in what circumstances would you be deleting a household? Because it's not something that normally should happen in EmpowOR. Tell me the story in your mind for that question of the household that needs to be deleted. What happened that we need to just take them out?
Tiffany's going to chime in because this was an issue we discussed.
All right, Tiffany, bring it on.
I had a client that was at our program in 2021, and they just recently returned for the food pantry and rental assistance, and their household information had changed. So she had a few individuals living with her in her household, and now it's just her and her daughter.
Easy. You do not delete.
Okay.
There is no delete. No, 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 no. No archive. No, 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 no. Tell me the name, please.
Nyasia Garner.
Maggie, what was the last name?
Nyasia Garner.
I can't. Garner?
Yes.
Sorry. No, that's not it. I didn't hear you properly.
Yes, there she is. Is that?
Yeah, at the bottom, yeah.
That's her. Okay. No wonder I didn't understand you. I was hearing it very differently. My bad. All right. So what we have here is, okay. So you've already created the second household, right?
I did the best I could because I wasn't
No,
sure.
no, no, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. I'm just trying to figure out how to undo it for you. All right. So that's the current household. What one would do is you would go into the household from before. So let's see if that's the one, because forever's not in the old one, right? So this would be the old one, I'm thinking. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and merge them for you because you've got, this is a little different, right? We've got 2 household IDs and we need to put them both in that one. All right. So I do not know if we've given merge privileges to staff, Steve. It's often an administrator privilege, but I am going to show how to do it, and then we can decide and check and see what it is. Okay. So merge participants. When I click it, it comes up with do this, and I'm going to say Garner. Just going to do the last name. Yep. There it is. Except that, okay, we now have a problem I need to get development to fix. No worries. What I would have done before is let's go to a test household so we don't mess with you. I'll get development to get the second household out for us in the database. So let's say that mini test has a household with quite a few people in it, right? Or one person now. If I need to move somebody out, right? She was here before and she had all these people with her then. And now she's alone. So we'll show you how to move Mickey Test out. I would simply pull her up on the screen. I'd update the address. I'd update the family type. It might have been multi-generational and now it's, single person. There it is. Single person. I'd update the address. Then I would come down here and I would remove a participant. And I would say, I want to remove Mickey Test. And you can say now or back in the day when they actually moved, but at least now. Take them out, and it's going to say, where do you want to move them? Do you want to move them into a new household, right, of their own, in which the oldest person you were moving would be the head of household? Or do you want to find and select an existing household and move them in, right? Because we move kids around all the time. They live with mom, sometimes dad, sometimes both at the same time, sometimes mom, dad, and grandma, right? The system is flexible that way. If you say find and select existing household, and if Mickey Test were already part-time in another household, that household would show up right here for you. You could say, yep, just move them full-time into that one. If, as is the case here, probably we don't necessarily know what happened. Pretend this is not an 11-year-old, okay? Let's just assume for a moment this is an adult, so we're not kicking a kid into the street, even metaphorically. I'm going to remove the participant. On this date, I want to remove Mickey. Next. If they're not in another household or if they're not going to get services themselves in a new household, I would just create a new household. Now, mini test does not have kid in there, okay? There are no enrollments or services, so it did not ask me if I wanted to roll those into the new household. Right? If I click on this household history, I can see that mini test was added on 21st of September last year, as was Mickey, and Mickey was removed today, right, out of the household. Okay. That's how I would do it, is just move them out if necessary into their own households and don't worry about them having additional households unless they get an enrollment, a service, or something. They're not going to show up in your reporting just because you created a household with somebody who we don't know what happened to them. Okay, it doesn't matter that they're in the database. It won't mess anything up. And oftentimes they are. So questions about that?
So we would just create a new household and then add the new family member.
I'm sorry, you do not need to create, you don't create a household in EmpowOR. The system creates households. It's an important distinction actually, because when we moved, let's see, let's go show him again. Mickey Test, I should have known that was who it was, right? I just type MI test, I'm gonna see Mickey and Minnie, right? And I'm going to see that Mickey Test is now in his own household. Okay. It created the household when you moved him out. So there is no, essentially the create household, and maybe that's the language you were meaning, was when I removed a participant, which I can't actually do because this person's the primary person in the household, and it said create new household. Yeah, that button, that is correct, but the system is creating it for you. And if this person were an adult who was going to get services, you would definitely want to put in, you know, their address, their family type, if they're going to get any other services, all the things. But sometimes people just move off and we don't know where they went. So that is how to do it. Now let's, for a moment, let's just look at how it works to have kids in multiple households, as long as we're on the subject. Okay. Let me get a bunch of people on the screen here. All right, so I need a household with a bunch of people in it. Aha. There we go. So I'm going to go into my tester household that I use for different things. And I'm going to say, okay, Alejandra Tester had this date of birth. If in fact I share custody of this child with, I'm going to go pull up another list of just people. Okay. Stay with me. This is going to all become clear in a moment. Okay. Carla Test. I don't know if Carla is there in the room, but Carla Test. Okay. I share custody of Alejandra Tester with this person. Okay. Okay. Right now, Alejandra is just in my household, but I want her to be in both. So I go to the household that I want to put her in. I need to know her name and her date of birth in order to do this. So that's why I have it up on 2 screens. Remember, EmpowOR works beautifully in 2 screens. Beautifully, but you have to refresh the tabs if you make a change because the left hand does not know what the right hand was doing. Okay, so I'm going to go to the other household, 8321, and I'm going to say add a participant, not remove, but add. Okay, and I'm going to look for Alejandra Tester, who was born on, what did I say, 08/11, no, 08/03/21, right? And I'm going to say finish and next. And it said, we found somebody else with the same name and date of birth. Do you want to add them to the existing household? Yes, I do. Here she is now, but when I close her, it takes you to the participant details. Now note, Carla not only has Rocco, she also has Alejandra, but down here, see the little 2 that has appeared? That says that Alejandra is in 2 households. And you can click on the 2 and it will tell you which households she's in. If you have the need to say what percentage of time in household, you can use it. It doesn't add anything to reporting, but you can do it, right? You can put relationships if you do them. Again, only if you want the information out. And you can check the 2 households. If I go back to Lil Tester's household, she's still here. There's no number. Remember, it doesn't know what I did until I refresh the screen. Now, Alejandra's little 2 has just shown up. Okay. Now, let's say that baby Tester, I didn't mean to put her here. I got confused. She actually belongs in Carla's household. Right? She's not going to, baby Tester is not going to be here anymore. I want to not share a person between 2 households. I want to move the person. All right. I don't have to go to the other household because I can just take this person out. And I can say, it's going to say, who do you want to remove? And it's baby Tester because I made a mistake. I can put a date in, say next. I want to find the existing household. And I'm going to look for, I know it's Carla because I know who I'm changing people to and from. I'm going to search for that. Test, not Tester. That's what I get. I'm Tester. She's Test, right? See what I mean about exact names and typing? It gives you, it's a system, right? It's a good one, but it's only a system. Okay. Turns out there are 2 Carla test households in the system. Interesting. Just means they have different dates of birth. Note that now baby has just disappeared from the household. If I got the right Carla test household, which I might not have, it refreshed itself, and there is baby tester who has just been moved over. Okay, just as you can see the history for the household, when people were added and when they were, to the household and removed from the household, you can also see the history for each person by clicking on their history button. Where all has baby tester been? Well, baby tester was added to Carla test and then removed, was created here and then removed there. So you can see the history. Okay. Any questions? Does that make sense? Does anybody, was this new? All right, if you're using EmpowOR less than a year, don't worry about answering. If you've been using EmpowOR a long time, is that something that you knew how to do?
Yeah.
Yes, some probably less so. Right? But for demographic purposes, again, sometimes people's instinct is to say, oh, well, I'll just create another Alejandra tester here in this household. And then you end up with 2 Alejandra testers, not one person split between 2 households. And then your demographics are off, right? Because that kiddo's being counted twice. We did have a situation come up, not you all, but it was a different New Jersey cap where we had twins. I'm not going to say the real name, but imagine if it was Joe Test and Josephine spelled with a J-O-E, and they entered Joe Test. It was actually the first, because the duplicate checking is the first 3 letters of the first name, the first 3 letters of the second name, or last name, and the date of birth. In the case of twins who had very, very similar names, it was the same first 3, the same last 3, and the same date of birth. And we had to overrule the system to create the twins. So it can happen that there is somebody with an actual match in there. Okay. Now, that is the end of my planned content, including the deeper question then that we just addressed for you. So bring on the next questions. Anybody at all?
I don't have a question. I have more of a comment.
Sure, please do.
I don't know if it was because of the CARES, but now when I go into my emergency, the enrollment and their services, and I want to do a case note, where we have the outcome settings, it used to have where I can put in the outcome setting. It used to have where I can say it was a mortgage payment or a rent payment or a PSE&G payment, but now it doesn't say that at all.
All right, remind me which agency?
Arm and Arm.
Thank you. Let's just get into your one and let's actually look at one here. Okay. So Arm and Arm for enrollments and services in that template. All right, you could enroll in either case management, CARES, or CSBG, right? And you're talking about CARES, correct?
Well, either or.
Okay, because CARES, of course, will end, end of September. Right, so let's go into, you're saying, is it in the enrollment that the question is, or it's in the services?
No, in the program services.
Okay, so let's go in and edit this one so you can show me what you mean. All right.
The outcome.
Uh-huh.
And then in that drop box, yeah. Okay. So it used to have where it would say we paid a back rent. It used to have we paid PSEG, and all of that is gone now.
It is gone, and it's gone on purpose because it's wrong. It was wrong. That is the service. So what you do in the basic information, and you weren't wrong. It was there. It was just set up improperly. Okay. So for instance, let's say I'm in tester, so that's okay. Let's say it was rent. This is the service on the basic page is where you record that it was a rent payment or a mortgage payment or a whatever, because that is not the outcome.
Okay, but for our purposes and because it's case management, we need to have an outcome.
Right. Right, you're going to record an outcome, but you're not going to, a mortgage pay, a rent payment, let's say in this case, a rent payment is not an outcome. A rent payment is a service, both in CSBG and also for people. I paid the rent as a service for this person, and the outcome is that they avoided eviction.
Okay, well, that was, yeah, that's not there.
I'm in your template. It should be there. Go in and look and see. And you hit save and it shows up.
And
When
how
you-
about PSAG,
PSAG, what is that?
utilities?
Okay, so in that case, the service is here in housing services. It's utility arrears payments. Add it. And the outcome, hang on a second. I don't think there is one for avoided utility shut off, so give me a second. And Steve, Scott, this is something that we need to be sure of our language here, so stop me and let's discuss it. There is no CSBG NPI outcome for paying a past due utility bill. Okay?
Right.
It's not a reportable outcome, but that does not mean the agencies can't pay the past due utility bill if that's in their work plan, correct?
But we still need an outcome.
But
No, you don't. That's the piece I'm trying to tell you is every service and doesn't have to have one. As long as you've got an outcome, the service, don't shake your head. Come on. Stay with me on this.
Well,
Stay
Lil, let
with
me explain our history with outcome and services. Each agency is required to have 75 outcomes. And that's how
Right.
the grant and the RFP process is documented. So for every service, we would try as hard as we can to get an outcome. So sometimes it seems like a square peg into a round hole, or vice versa.
My actual suggestion is that we rework that process because outcomes happen or they don't, right? And some services, again, in CSPG, just don't lead to. If you do food distribution, there is no outcome. You gave them food. It's a critically important service, right? But there is no outcome. Now we can make up, I can absolutely do it right now on the fly. I can make up an outcome that says avoided utility shut off, but you're not going to be in the NPIs. It's not going to show up in your CSBG reporting because it just the CSBG reporting and funding doesn't work that way. Okay. So getting 75 outcomes, I thought that it was that each agency would serve 75 families and they'd all get at least one outcome. Is that not the case?
That's the case, right? That's what we're
Okay.
trying to do. 75
outcomes because you're serving 75 families. So back to the question then is, so in this, let's say that I paid rent and the utility payment, right? I can have the outcome of avoided eviction, right? That's two services with one outcome. Or maybe I also have, probably I do, recording case management visits, right? And there could be a different outcome for that, which could be something like, you know.
I've just been putting improved mental health.
Then I suggest you have a way to document how case management did improve their mental health and well-being.
Paid their gas and electric bill so that they didn't get a shut off.
That is no. If you guys get monitored by the feds, you will actually get in trouble for that. I'm just going to be very blunt. Getting their utilities paid does not count with the way that they define. By the way, personally, I agree with you. When my bills are paid, I significantly have better mental health, right? There's no question about it. I don't disagree with the premise, but it is not an outcome that they're going to recognize. Here, you paid a utility bill? No.
That's a very subjective outcome then.
You have to find a measurement that somehow they do. Either they tell you in a pre and post, they report that they've improved their mental health and you document that they've reported it. There's all sorts of family functioning assessments that you can use to document it. Yes, I agree. Many of the outcomes are very easy. I pay rent, we avoid eviction. Boom. It's a one-to-one done deal, right? That's all it is, right? High school, improved positive approaches to learning. How do we know? Well, either we measure it somehow based on their survey when they come in and their survey when they leave, or some other indicator, their grades went up, and I have the report cards to show it, right? It's many of them are subjective, increased sensitivity, interactions with their kids. How do I know? And maybe the documentation is in the case notes. We worked on these skills together. We did this, we did that. And the parent reports that this is so. I would say you can claim it. But to go back to the very concrete services like electric bills, right? If anything, even if do you sometimes pay power bills without paying rent? Back to the original question. Okay. I would actually choose avoid eviction, because one of the leading, I don't have to tell you guys this, but one of the leading causes of eviction in this country is utility shutoffs, and then landlords evict you even if you paid your rent, because without utilities, they don't want you in the house, right?
You take with you, no matter where you go. If you have a shut off notice and you're planning on moving, your bill goes with you, no matter where you go.
Right, right. Especially when there's only one utility company in town, right?
No,
But
it's
so,
not really avoiding eviction. You can beat evicted.
well, in that case, it might be something else, but it is definitely not this. And you need to go back and take them out of anything you haven't already submitted. I'm serious. I don't want to see you guys get dinged for this. You can't guess on these. And that is not Mercer County and Steve, but having an outcome for each family, if you had avoided eviction, or if you had a different outcome for all the different services, right, that you can do. All the different pieces, you're going to have an outcome here somewhere, right? You are. It's just that simple. Why do we have SRV5 in here twice? But for instance, and this is one where I expect you to push back, so go ahead, it's okay. When you do food distribution in community action, in CSPG, it is a critically important service that has no outcome. Okay? We don't know if they ate the food. We don't know if it was enough food. We don't know if someone took the food away from them on the way home, right? We don't know what happened. We can't document that they decreased hunger because we don't know that. CSPG accepts and is happy to have food distribution as a service with no outcome. And if that's the only service that you give one of those 75 families, I'm betting it's very seldom the only service you give them. But if it were, I would think you'd have a very hard time proving in physical health and well-being, but that's the only one that could possibly be chosen. And it's not correct. And you would get questions on how do you know that? How do you prove it?
We've been doing 5A increased nutritional skills, and we had a conversation, well, probably about a year or so ago about that there was no direct outcome towards that. And that because Mercer County, we used to record it differently for the nutrition, for the food distribution. But then once the FNPIs came out, we didn't have a natural connection from services to outcomes with food distribution. And we were allowed to click that increased nutrition skills.
By whom?
We had a conversation, you and I know you did say that's not exactly right, but if that's what you've been doing, go ahead.
Yeah, but I would stop it before the next year because you already were. That's probably the piece that either I didn't say or didn't say strongly enough. Because if somebody comes in to ask you about this, so you run a food pantry, I know many of you have food places, right? And you give someone food. Again, life-changing, critically important, huge, huge thing. It's a good thing. How does that increase their nutrition skills? Steve, I do agree. I did say it back then to say, let's just get you through the year. And my bad for not being clearer. You are not going to be allowed in a monitoring at least not from the Fed level. DCA might wink at it. They're going to say giving people food does not result in increased nutritional skills. You can't prove it. Right? If you teach a cooking class every time you give them a box, aha, you can claim that. That's appropriate, right? So you guys need to decide if you're going to continue doing that, in which case, go. Scott, I would have a conversation with DCA about it. And I would be happy to have that conversation with you. But I would say finish out the year, but don't do it beginning 10/1.
Don't begin in 23 when we start in 23.
Right, 10/1, October 1st, right? Yeah, don't start October 1st of this year, which starts the 23 fiscal year. When you say food, do not click increase nutrition skills unless DCA says, yes, we agree with that, but their feds would ding them for allowing it. I'm quite sure about this.
So then we're going to have no outcome for food. Is that correct?
All right, here's the thing. There are no reportable CSBG outcomes for food, right? Period. You're just not going to have it. I can create right now an outcome of received food. It will show up on this list as, received food, alpha order. It'll be here, but it has no connection to CSBG. You will not see it on a CSBG report. You would see it, however, if you ran an outcomes report, right? So for your purposes, and you are allowed to do this as a CAP agency, you can say, we want to know the outcome of received food. We know we can't include it in our federal reporting because they don't acknowledge that there's an outcome for food. That's okay. And you can record the outcome so that your contracts right now of outcome recording have it. Is that what you'd like to do?
Yes. Can we do that then?
We can do that right now.
So we're gonna get credit for it?
Yes.
Because
I want our agencies to get credit for the food distribution. But as long as it's on our end and they get their 75, each of them clients served, that's what we want to make sure that we're able to document. If the DCA as well as the feds don't need that information, then that's fine, as long as we have it. Because that's in our RFP when each agency applies for the funding, that's what they will serve at least 75 clients.
Right, but that doesn't mean that every service has to have an outcome. It means that they serve 75 clients, of whom the families get at least one outcome per family, right? Is there any language in the RFP that says?
But from what I'm hearing, we're really stretching the interpretation of a lot of FMPIs then.
Only a few.
Okay.
Only a few. The thing is it's your RFP that is the challenge here. If your RFP says you will serve 75 families with this assorted mix of services, and they will get outcomes, right? Then
if we want to get paid by those 75 families, we need to have 75 outcomes. If we have 74 outcomes,
right, that's because that's
households there, we will get paid only for 74.
Right, and that's a Mercer County agency issue. It is how the contract is written. This is not a CSBG issue, right? Steve, what I'm saying is that you're going to have more than 75 outcomes, because if you serve a family with rent and food and this and that, don't families mostly have more than one income when you're working with the 75?
Sometimes, if we have a family who's coming with a shut-off notice and we pay that bill, but they don't want a food or they don't need any other services, we want to do outcome for that family because that's how we get paid. Otherwise, we're going to have to find a different grant of funding to cover the need. It won't be CSBG.
No. They just need to rewrite the contract for you. That's different.
My concern with that is that I guess 3 years ago when I inherited the program, this has been going on for, correct me, anybody, for at least 5, 7, 10 years. At least a decade, the same 75. So per agency for outcomes. And
Is
so
you
for the last 10 years, we've been RFPing, sending it out, this contract, for the same amount of unduplicated individuals. And yet, so I don't know, I don't know what happened 10 years ago, but what changed that now it's wrong?
Nothing changed. It was being done wrong 10 years ago.
What changed? Lil jumped on board.
No. No, Lil jumped on board at EmpowOR, and I'm telling you, EmpowOR will do it the right way. But CSBG has always had, well, no, that's not true. Since 1981, we have had the services and NPIs, and they get updated periodically, right? That's our job to keep them current and EmpowOR. They did make some big changes a few years ago. I don't remember the exact date. And that's part of when food went away as an outcome, and that's just how it is. States are expected to work with their agencies to understand the changes and make those in the system. Okay. So I am creating right now a way for you to do it the way Mercer County and the grantees need to do this. Okay. Because we do not need to fuss about it. We are just going to fix this. Okay. So in the program, Steve and Scott, I'm going into the program information. I'm going to manage them. I'm going to go into the case management type. Everybody else feel free to watch the administrator videos, but you don't have administrator rights. So there you go. Okay. And I'm going to go to the outcomes, and I'm going to add an existing outcome. And I'm going to say REC. And down here, it says receive food. So I'm going to pick it. And I'm going to add the existing outcome of utility payment made. Save and close. All right. Now, if I go back,
RFP number was that? What FMPI number?
there aren't. Those are not FNPIs. That is
Okay.
exactly what I'm telling you.
Right, can you
Those are-
scroll down? And
Uh-huh.
I want to see what, okay.
I created these on the fly here so that you all can record your outcomes of food and utility payments, which are not reportable as an FNPI under CSBG. Okay, they're not.
Okay, so if I understand what you're saying, can I say it a different way, just so my brain?
Please, no, repeat,
Oh,
no,
so
let's do it.
the state is requiring us to have an outcome for food distribution, utility payments, but the federal government is,
No, the state's not requiring it. Mercer County is requiring it.
Mercer County is requiring it, okay.
Because that's the traditional way. They're, right, that's how they did it. It's not how you have to continue to do it. Stephen Scott, I would love to work with you to make this easier for everybody. But, right, this Mercer County has set that you have to have an outcome for the service of food and utility. That is absolutely their right as the CAP agency granting. That's okay. Right? But these are not ever going to tail into their reporting to DCA, who then report to the feds, because these are not outcomes that they count. Okay, they did used to, by the way, they took them off because they said essentially making a payment isn't really I think avoiding utility shutoff should be an NPI. I've written my letters, but it's not. So now what does that mean for you all right now? Because this is a live change that I just made. If I go back into that service for this tester person, and I go to my outcomes tab, and I look at my outcomes, right here are the two I just added. You should see them as well right now. This is live fixes, right? Live fixes. You should now see received food and utility payment made, which satisfies your need, agencies, to get paid, which, by the way, I fully appreciate. And it satisfies the county's needs to adhere to their current RFP contracts, which say 75 outcomes. And if all they got was a utility payment, then that's the outcome. But, and Steve, this is back over to you. When you go to do your quarterly reporting, you're going to report for the agency the SRV of a utility arrears payment. And there will not be any outcome in the report for that family. That's okay. for the state and the feds, not every service has to have an outcome. CSPG does not require that across the board. Unless you have no outcomes.
When I'm
Right.
doing my quarterly, running my reports, and I'm
Mhm.
running under outcomes. And so whatever that food item will populate, correct? So we can search, what is receive food. I could run the report, and all who we've received food as an outcome would be generated, right?
Right, just
It's
exactly
not
like
on
this.
it's just not on the DCA report, the state report.
Exactly right.
Boom, that's good. Perfect. We're good then.
All right, we are fine now. We have solved it. And that I think was a big one, because I don't want any of you getting in trouble, because Office of Inspector General visits, when they happen, and they happen to every state every 5 or 10 years, 8 years, I forget. But if your agency's name came out of the hat, it's a random thing. I promise you, those are not fun people to deal with. They may be very nice in their private lives, but they are sticklers for, I should cut that out of the recording. They're very nice people. They have a job. They are, in fact, nice people, but they do have a job to do. And if you claim nutrition skills from food, you would get a finding. You would actually get a finding for that. So, all right. So that was actually a very profitable discussion. An
Somebody has a
example.
question.
Go, please, bring it.
This is Mytel from Rise. Can we, in the program services, do it? We have a line that says other services. Can we add 3 additional service lines?
Is that just for Rise or for all of you?
Well, for Rise, because.
Well, for everybody,
Okay,
everybody's
I don't know if they're.
screen could see it.
Yeah, because that's the thing, is it's across the screen, but that's okay. Yes, we can, and yes, I will. So tell me the 3 items, please.
A furniture voucher. Taxi voucher, and I know there's a line for emergency clothing, but if it's not an emergency clothing, can we just do a clothing voucher, regular clothing voucher?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet. Now, how does that look? Let's go over. Again, this is how I do it, admins, when I'm teaching people, is I make the change as an administrator. I go over to a household that has something, right? It doesn't really matter what work template, but I'll just go back to the one I was on. Ugh, really, stop that. Enrollments. Just do a quick one. Except that you guys would not use enrolled, you'd use enrolled CSPG eligible, right? That's a New Jersey special. Everybody in the country has to look at that because New Jersey needed it. All right. Some of them are using it to record other stuff. It's like, well, if it's there, we can use it. It's like, so in the services now, in other services, there they, let's see, it alphabetizes. So there's taxi voucher. Hang on. The other ones didn't take. All right, well, let me go back over. So this is why we do it. So we say, okay, what other services? Let me go to the service group. And what was the third one again, Mytel? Furniture, that was it. Thank you. Administrators, the mistake I made, I hit enter instead of hitting add item. That was the mistake. So now if I close here and then open services again after my screen refreshed, now in my drop down for other services, there you go. Now they're all there. That's the thing to do when you make a change on the fly. Check and see if it shows up for data entry. Next question, please. Come on, don't be shy.
I have a question.
Please.
It's Tiffany. What do we do if we have a client that is over income and we put them in the system? Do we remove them or just leave them?
I would, if you have a client, have you already given them a service, or you put them in, then you realize they were over income and you didn't give them a service?
Yes, that one.
Okay, no, just leave them. Just leave them. Doesn't matter. They will not show up on the reporting because they don't have an enrollment. They don't have a service, right? And part of the reason to make it as easy as possible is enter their income, right? And check the poverty percentage. And it's like, oops, 201. I'm really, really sorry, but no, right? Because it's not allowed.
No, I
That's,
just put them in no longer eligible,
say again, Mitel? I think that was Mitel.
but no longer eligible.
You could, yeah. Well, no, because that's an enrollment, right? If you just don't do any enrollment, then in fact, you would just not do anything, right? If you get down to the, I put in their stuff, I put in their income,
And they
They
didn't
don't-
qualify.
they didn't qualify, so we're not gonna worry about it, right? I just don't do an enrollment. But let's say I've gotten to the point of enrolling them and I didn't do a service yet, but then I realized it. So yes, you could do not eligible. And then you could have a report of all the people who weren't eligible, right? But I don't know that it's helpful. I think in that case, I would simply delete the enrollment. If you had done one by accident. Yeah, but if it's just the person's information, their income and stuff, then I wouldn't. Now, a shortcut for you guys. Do you all currently use paper forms and then put the information in EmpowOR yourselves, or someone there does it? I'm seeing nods. Tiffany, especially you, I'm asking.
Yes, I put it in.
Because here's a shortcut for you then, especially if they have a large family. Okay, let's go back to Mickey's basic information. Here's what I would do. I would put in the head of household. I would override the number of people in the household. And I would say, in this case, because Mickey's a thing, I would say there's actually 2 adults, 1 senior, and 1 child, okay? Now, if I do an income snapshot, remember that I did that, there's only 1 person actually here. If I do income, and if I go ahead and do a snapshot, and in this case, I wouldn't, I would be like, because you know how people have like multiple income sources. So many of the people we work with have multiple part-time jobs and a disability payment and. I would actually, for purposes of streamlining, I would do an income snapshot, and I would simply put in, I'll just go ahead. Date added. Sorry. I know it's a date. It just messed me up because it's a date issue. So income snapshot.
Okay.
There we go. All right. And then I would just go to Mickey because he's currently the only one in the household. And I would enter the total income, and I would just put other, because you're going to fix it later if they qualify, right? Other, whether it's monthly or annual, or whether you do some math or enter a bunch of others, right, to make it calculate. Let's just say if you know that their monthly gross income is $1,200, right? Save and close. It is calculating the percent of poverty based on these numbers, not based on Mickey. The system, you're telling the system, there are actually 3 people because it's 2 adults, 1 kid. One of the adults is a senior. So it's 3 people, and you can see that here, right? But it would be a shorter way, especially if they have 3 people in the household and there's 3 or 4 incomes, right? You could basically do a very fast, create the head of household, set up the numbers, put in an income snapshot, and check it first. Then, if in fact they're going to qualify, then you could go back and say, okay, now I'm going to enter the details and the other people, right? And now I'm going to actually enter that it was, here's my income snapshot. Yeah, but I'm going to edit this one, and I'm going to say that this one was actually employment, and it's $600 a month, right? Save and close rather. And now I'm going to enter the actual, it was private disability insurance monthly for 600 and if it might change a bit because you might ballpark it for estimation purposes. But now you know that it's worthwhile to enter the people and the incomes and all the stuff. I suspect that might be a time saver for you. Just don't forget to go back and enter the people and the incomes, or it will end up being a time suck for you. You go back to do it later. But this would let you do.
I do that when I'm waiting for income verification from the state to come back,
Uh-huh.
go back and change it.
Perfect, right? And then you can change it. So, but yeah, even though before you enter necessarily all the people and do all those keystrokes and put it all in there, this is a great way to do it with just the head of household. So I hope that helps at least somebody there with an easier way to do that. Well, you're welcome.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Now I know.
Yep, it's a shortcut, right? We like shortcuts. Next question, please. Come on, stump me. I'm waiting to be stumped.
I never stop you though.
It happens at least twice a day, sometimes 3. What other questions? I have other stuff I can show you, and I have something, Steve, that I want to run by you and everybody else. But I really want to make sure I address your questions. Any reporting questions, anything you want to do internally. If you want to see your own reports, do you need to know more about how to do them? Right? Would you like me to show you through some things there? Anything at all. This is your time. Well, technically it's Steve's time, but he's giving it to you.
You got 3 minutes, Steve. You have any questions?
No, I just tried to get on the phone with Scott Bruno from DCA just to verify everything, but I got voicemail. So I'll have to be in touch with her.
Let me know, and let me know if you want me to jump on with you guys, because I'm happy to do this. I also can tell you that DCA has been working very hard the last few years to get things moved to the federal standard. Not only, did things change a few years ago, but DCA has had some learning and some updating to do. Okay, so nobody's wrong for having done it however you did it in the past, for the record. And I will back off, Steve, on the other. It's just that I served too long on the Roma task force and I've done too many of the reports and worked with NASCAS not to be very sure that some of the stuff I'm saying about CSPG is really and truly problematic. I promise I wouldn't make it up to scare anybody.
Thank you. Lil, the question with the 3 that Mattiel just entered, the furniture, the other. Are there any outcomes for that or not? They're just services? Okay. No outcomes. Right.
I would say it's very hard to know, right, that the outcomes, let's just look at the possibles, okay? Clothing is not an outcome. Furniture is not an outcome, for sure. But
I was using parent caregiver improved home environment.
not appropriate for CSPG.
What would be appropriate in that line item then for outcome?
There isn't one. For CSPG, there is not one for those. We can create Mercer County specific ones, just like I did for received food and received utility payment. Right? We could even create an outcome that wasn't specific to furniture and taxi. It could be Mercer County improved home environment, right? It just, we don't want it tying to that NPI that it's not actually an appropriate outcome for that service.
Can you tell me what would be an appropriate one for that outcome?
There isn't one in the NPIs. I'm sorry to say, there just isn't one for clothing.
No, I know, but that.
Oh, if we made one up.
No, what would that, what was the name of that outcome you just?
Parent caregiver improved home environment.
Improved home environment. Okay, what would go under that?
That would be something you could measure, right? Something you could measure. Improve the home environment typically isn't furniture and clothing. You could make a case for it, but you don't know and you can't prove that they use the furniture voucher to get furniture delivered to their home, right? Improved home environment, and NASCAS, by the way, has a dictionary of what the outcomes mean on their website. Let's pop it up, and people be thinking of other questions because we still have 20 lovely minutes together.
Well, in our case, we do have case managers going to our client's house to actually do furniture delivery.
Okay. Well, let's take a look very quickly. Okay. I want to see. I want the data. I want the data collection and reporting on the annual report, I believe. PDF, the cleared annual report. Let's see, it is module 4. There is a whole dictionary in here that actually says what each one means. I'm not sure if it's in the instruction manual. NASCAS updated their website, and I'm just not sure where they moved stuff. All right. FNPI, health and social behavioral indicators. Let's jump down. All right. So here's the indicators. Here's the explanation, right, for each one. So physical health and well-being, right? That is things like improving health and has the methodology for measuring it, right? Deploys community and tracks people's health changes. That's not the one we're talking about, but it's a good example. Improved mental and behavioral health. You can see that this and their guidance is you have to have an identified assessment tool in place to measure change over time. If you're going to claim 5C, improved mental and behavioral health and well-being, you have to have this or it will not be allowed. If in a monitoring, again, you have to get monitored before somebody knows this stuff, but you will be someday. Here we go, 5D, individuals who improved skills related to the adult role of parent caregivers, right? Participants learn and improve their skills, a weekly caregiver class, right? Improved environment. And we could say, again, they should have an assessment tool. There's another one for sensitivity. Let's get down to, which was the one, Maita, do you remember the letter number of the one with improved home environment? 5GE?
2E.
Oh, 2E, okay. Just don't watch the screen for a moment. You're going to get very dizzy.
So it would not be furniture voucher, it would be emergency furniture.
Well, no, the service doesn't matter actually.
Okay.
In this case, hang on a second. Let me get to 2E in the education one. Okay, hang on. Let me also make this not 800% for heaven's sakes. And let's go down to module 2 and let's see what they say. Because this is how you do it, right? This is actually how you do it. So education and the indicators, the FNPI, Head Start, blah, 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 blah. 2A, school readiness. Improve the home environment. Let's see. This is an example of the activities: strengths-based training, case management, skills, anger management, home visiting, who demonstrate an increase in reading or learning materials available. So if you're doing home visiting, you might be able to document this, right? So here's your language right here. And Steve, if you guys, as a group, as a county, I mean, as an organization, if you agree that, and you're prepared to defend, that giving food is here, furniture is not, children are nurtured food. If you decide that you're going to read this as something that confirms that the home environment, right, has been improved, not approved, that's a typo on their part, Right? You have to document that the outcome has been achieved and you need to find a way to do it. I would say that I do not agree that furniture vouchers actually do that based on this, but you make your decision, right? That's just my Roma hat on, and I just don't know that I could. Well, I'll help you do it. I can do anything you tell me to do with EmpowOR, and I will. And I absolutely.
guess I need to make sure that New Jersey, state of New Jersey is okay with what we're doing and any changes.
I think that's probably true, but I also know that they're trying to get it right. So it may make sense that we all talk about it or not. But that is what it means, and that is what's going to happen though if you get monitored on it. Okay. So no problem. Feel free to ring me in or not to a discussion, and if they're okay with it, then I will not bug you about it again. But
I have a
it's not-
reporting question.
Okay, please do.
So, yeah, we, at the Lawrence Community Center, we seem to go around doing, when each quarter is coming to an end and we're trying to just get a sense of how many people we serve in that quarter.
Yeah.
Figured out how to do it 1,000 different ways. What is the easiest way to essentially know how many we served in a quarter?
Sure. How many people or how many services? Well, let's tell you what. Let's just do a quick lesson. And then you tell me if this answers the question. The fastest is the CSBG Services by Enrollment Report. Remind me of the, let's see, it's CSBG. Let's do CARES. And for now, tell me which agency, please.
Lawrence,
I'm sorry.
third one down, Lawrence.
Lawrence, thank you. I heard Arch, and I'm like, I don't think I have that, do I? And I want to know all services from, now remember, if you go over 4 months in this, it'll make you export to Excel or a PDF. So under 4 months, it'll do it on screen. So for the sake of argument right now, let's do 03, 01, 22 to 06, 08, 22. Okay. What I have just told the system to do is to give me a services report. So that's going to be the output, no matter what filters I choose. These 3 lines, sections are all filters. And if they make you dizzy, you can make them disappear. Okay. But you can filter this 16 ways from Sunday. But the simplest way is to say CARES or CSBG. Okay. You have to do them separately in the core reporting. Pick your site and say, I want to see all the services between these 2 dates. So I'm going to generate a report. And it's going to put it on the screen because it's less than 4 months. If not, it would just say you have to export which format do you want. Right? So I can see here that for Lawrence, under case management CARES, it's going to break out all the different services that you do in this report. Okay, so I can start scrolling and it's going to say, okay, in that area, I did 20 service records with 24 unique participants in 11 households that got case management. Right, that's the service that was checked. I can keep going and page through my report. And I can say, great, personal care items. There were 4 with 8 unique participants in 4 households, right? I can see each thing. On the bottom page, the last page of the report, you will get a total number. If in fact you want to say, how many unique people did we serve in that months, in those months that I put in here as the filter, okay? In that time period, we served 24 unique people with 40 different services. Those people lived in 11 different households. And this dollar amount was spent in that time frame. Okay.
Yes.
Is that the report you're hoping for?
Yeah, no, that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to tell you that you should look, any of you who are interested in building your own reports, You should look at the webinar I did at the end of May, and it's on Report Builder. In Report Builder, and I can't do a tutorial in 10 minutes or I would, you can create your own reports on services and outcomes, and you can say, just always make it the previous month, right? Always make it the whatever it is. And in there, you could include your CSBG and your CARES in one report. It just requires additional work and a little additional training. I think the webinar is quite clear on how to do it. Report Builder, though, is fun to play with. Again, you cannot break it. So if you are interested in getting more specific reports, or Steve and Scott, if there are reports across the 4 agencies that you'd like to be able to run on an on-demand basis, let's set them up for you, right? Let's set them up. Because Report Builder is one of my favorite tools. You can do it against enrollments or against services, either one. Okay. Excellent question, and I appreciate the chance to go through that with you. Other questions? All right, I have a question for you, and we have just enough time for me to ask it. How many of you, I mean, I know you're all probably using other data systems. This is your CSBG system, right? Which is great, no problem. Like I said, we have some that use EmpowOR as their for all their programs, and some who don't. No, not a problem either way. Duplicative data entry is like the devil's work as far as I'm concerned, right? And so we want to make it as easy as possible on you. When you are working with clients at your agency, whether or not they're going to be CSBG people, do you have electronic ways to have them enter their own information in the system and then work with that information? Or is it paper all the way to data entry?
Paper.
Do you have the ability for clients to do technology either in your lobby or off of a link on your website that says, apply here, and fill in their own stuff?
No.
No.
Okay. There is functionality in EmpowOR called, and you guys already have it, Steve. This is, New Jersey pays for this for the whole state, right? We could do a client inquiry for each location that you could basically hand people in your lobby a pad or a Chromebook or whatever with that link. They could enter their own stuff. You just import them and it creates the household. They don't have to fill out a paper form. You don't have to type it in. Much faster, much more efficient, less aggravating for everybody. It came out during COVID when people had to do remote work and people weren't even in the office. But people are using it now for just what I'm talking about. It's like, why have a clipboard when I can, go buy a Chromebook, hand it across, and have them do it. So if that is of interest to any of you, talk to Steve. And Steve, I only need about an hour with anybody to turn it on and make it work for them. Okay. So it's just something I want you to know that it can be done in EmpowOR. Okay.
Hello, is that program in Spanish also, or is just English?
It is Client Inquiry, the basics is available in Spanish and English, whatever the user clicks on when they go in to do it. Yes, ma'am.
There's only 2 languages, or is there more?
It's only 2 for now.
Where do we find this?
You don't find it. I have to turn it on for you. I have to set one up. I'll tell you what. Let's do something very quick because I do have a hard stop at 3, unfortunately, or I would just offer to stick with you longer. So let me set up a fast one. I'm not going to really tell you what I'm doing because I just want to do this quickly. Setting it up, generating a one-time link. Each of you could have your own. Let's see. All right, so gender, ethnicity, street address, allow uploads, no assessment. Just do primary for now. Okay, save. There's lots more options than what I'm showing you. I am going to show you the very most basic client inquiry. Okay, so You could have a logo, the subtext can say whatever you want. So I'm just going to say where I am in Southwest Virginia, and I am Lil Testy. It's a different person. 60865, right? And I am female, and I am not. Save and continue. Do you want to upload documents? This is part of the magic. They can upload their own stuff right now as part of the intake. They can skip it. You can have an assessment. Thanks for submitting. And I didn't demo Spanish for you, but it was there. Okay. Now, when I go back into here and I say client inquiries, import them, search. There it is. I import that person. It looks for a duplicate. There isn't one. It creates the household right here. No fuss, no muss. It's quick, it's efficient, and people don't have to spend time putting information on paper, and then you don't have to spend time typing it in.
Some people may be able to do it. some
Right.
others-
And you can attach assessments to it. You can ask for documents ahead. The last thing I want to show you, and then I'll take any questions on the functionality or any other final questions. And Steve, I want to talk about what you want to do next with your block of time. So in document information, you guys have to gather documents to prove their income, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But you don't currently store them in EmpowOR, correct? Give me a second. I'm just going to fix a work template and show you something. You already have this capacity. I'm just putting it in here. Steve, there's no charge, there's no problem, there's no nothing with this. It's just part of the system. Okay. Come on, it's got to finish saving before I can go demonstrate this. There we go. All right. So now that I'm in Arm & Arm and I just refresh my screen, see how document management just appeared? If during that client intake, I had chosen to upload a driver's license or a pay stub or a whatever the instructions that you can type for the client inquiry say that they should upload, it would already be here. Okay. Most of you who are here work some of the time, at least one-on-one with clients, correct? Do you ever encounter a situation where somebody comes in and they don't have every single piece of paper that you need in order to, right? Because hell, I don't, right? Nobody always has everything, right? It's a good day when I remember that I take my purse with me sometimes, okay? So, right, it happens a lot. You already have the functionality to imagine, if you will, you're talking to Maria, or actually in this case, who is it here? Lil. You're talking to Lil Testy, right? And you say, okay, great. So I've got everything else, but you still need to send me a copy of your ID that you left on the counter and a copy of your latest pay stub, whatever it is, right? That I want you to send me. And they go, okay, great. So you generate the URL. If they have an email entered, it'll say send via email. If you use Outlook or an email client, if you click send via email, it will create an email from you. It will have this URL in it, but otherwise you can just take it out of here and paste it into an email and send it to the client if they have email, right? So I just clicked either send email if there was one, or I've emailed it separately, right? The client clicks on the link that is in their email, and you told them you wanted in the email, you told them what you wanted, and it was a pay stub and it was this person. They can select, take a picture on their phone, do whatever they want, and go. Okay, they can upload it. They can upload as many as they need. Pretty much any format, JPEGs, GIFs, bitmaps, PDFs, documents, doesn't matter. And they can submit. When I'm over here and I'm in the household, in real time, there's the document. They didn't have to send it. They didn't have to bring it. They didn't have to fax it. send it by carrier pigeon. In addition, email is not secure, right? To get emailed personal identification stuff, technically it's not secure. This is not email. You're sending the link via email, but it's a secured upload portal that passes all the federal standards for security. And then you can click on it and say, did they actually send me their pay stub? Remember, it opens down here. Or did they in fact forget what they were doing and want to make you laugh at the end of this session and show you my favorite Zoom meme? Hello, hello, is there anyone there? Someone wants to contact us. Zoom stuff, right? Can you imagine that that would be an extremely easy way to get documentation from clients without having to track it down?
Can you print any like the forms? Can you print
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, you can. And you might need to because EmpowOR isn't your only systems. A lot of agencies that are only using EmpowOR for all their programs, or they're just a cap agency that just uses it, they're going paperless because it's here. And what's more, it's here for anyone else to see. Meaning if they apply for services in a different part of an agency somewhere, right? Somebody would already see that I've gotten the income, I've gotten the ID. It's there and they don't have to ask them again for anything. All you have to do to use it is, and Steve, I just need your blessing, is all I have to do is put document management on each of the templates and it's there. You have it. You're already, New Jersey's paying for it.
We still have to print it. Audit.
If you need to, you just print it. You open up the document, right? Using the link. When it opens in its window, you print whatever it is. Sure. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Would you, Steve, do you have any problem if I turn it on? And if you do not, would people like me to do that for your agency so you can use it if you want to?
I don't have a problem if you turn it on. That would be fine if you want to use it. And I think down the road, we will be using it because everything's going paperless.
This actually, Steve, would let you and Scott do monitoring on income and stuff from your desk. Because if the income snapshot's here and you're monitoring, you can look at the pay stub as well and see it. And you can, but you can do a part of your compliance monitoring remotely if the documents are here.
Hey, this ain't right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, all right, let me turn that on. Oh, shoot, it is 3 o'clock straight up. Oh, when I can enter safely.
And
I am so sorry, Steve. I have to end this immediately because I went right to 3, but I wanted you to see it. I will turn it on by the end of today, meaning my end of today, so probably 6 or 7 o'clock. You guys will have it. Steve, let me know what you'd like to do for next steps. Do you want to gather the group? Do you want to do every other month sessions like this? How do you guys want to proceed? You just tell me and I will work with it.
Thank you, Lil.
I appreciate it. We'll have the
Thank
recording
you.
posted by tomorrow. Thank you all so much. I appreciate having you there to talk to. Bye-bye.
Could everyone do me a favor while they're at their stations? Could you just